2023 is looking like a packed year. There's a deluge of games currently targeting a launch sometime next year that people are keenly anticipating. And sure, there will be delays to some of them, there always are, but even so, it's looking like there's going to be no shortage of excellent games to play for everyone throughout the year. You realise that there are quite a few promising looking games of a smaller scale from smaller developers coming out as well. These games might not be grabbing too many headlines, and they might not be the biggest, most hype-inducing upcoming releases, but everything that we've seen of them so far has looked more than a little promising. Here, we're going to talk about a few such potential dark horses that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on. Deliver Us Mars. Kyoken Interactive's sci-fi adventure title Deliver Us the Moon is the definition of diamond in the rough. An excellent experience at its core, surrounded by a noticeable lack of polish. There's a lot of potential there though, which is why its sequel, Deliver Us Mars, has our curiosity piqued. The adventure game has looked like a promising evolution of its predecessor's idea in all that we've seen so far, with expanded exploration and traversal mechanics and a greater emphasis on more polished storytelling. And it certainly seems like the developer is looking to move up a level with the game. Whether or not it lives up to the promise remains to be seen, but it's certainly looking promising so far. ROBOCOP Rogue City. It wasn't that long ago that developer Teon surprised us with a surprisingly solid Terminator game in Terminator Resistance. Next year, the developer will be tackling another iconic sci-fi franchise when it releases ROBOCOP Rogue City. We haven't seen an awful lot of the game so far, but it's caught our attention nonetheless. The prospect of playing as the iconic titular hero in a well-realized recreation of old Detroit is an exciting one, especially if Teon can adapt the property as well as it did with Terminator. Hopefully we'll be seeing more gameplay soon, but based on what little we know so far, we're excited to learn more. FLINTLOCK The Siege of Dawn. A44 made a solid debut with its 2019 Souls-like Ashen, and with its next game, it looks like the developer is looking to kick things up a notch. FLINTLOCK The Siege of Dawn has slowly but surely become one of the more promising looking titles of 2023. Promising a large and varied open world, exciting combat, and what's looking like a compelling fantasy setting, the action RPG has looked sharp and exciting every time it's shown up. It's certainly an ambitious title for an indie studio, so here's hoping that A44 succeeds in bringing its vision to life. Hell is Us. Nacon has a number of games coming out in 2023, including the aforementioned ROBOCOP, and in that group, developer Rogue Factor's action-adventure title Hell is Us has definitely stood out. The semi-open world title is set in a war-torn nation that gets invaded by supernatural entities, and where its storytelling is concerned, from its thematic elements to its unique setting, it's definitely piqued our curiosity. Meanwhile, on a gameplay front, with its promise of intense melee combat and more organic exploration that eschews things such as maps, pointers or what have you, Hell is Us is certainly saying all the right things. Planet of Lana. Planet of Lana is, of course, a game that's received a fair bit of attention in the last few months, and by the looks of it, it's probably going to turn out to be a game that's well worth that attention. Indie studio Wishfully's side-scrolling platforming adventure title is looking like one of the most compelling games of 2023. Its gorgeous visuals and art design are of course among the game's most eye-catching elements, but from its music to its story and setting and more, there's plenty else here that seems to be shaping up well. SLITTERHEAD. Having co-created franchises like Silent Hill, Siren and Gravity Rush, Keiichiro Toyama is clearly a developer you can't help but pay attention to when he's doing something new. His new independent team, Bokeh Game Studio, announced SLITTERHEAD back in December last year. And even in spite of how little we know about the game, there's plenty of reasons to get excited about it. Toyama is returning to the horror genre with what he's saying will be a very new and unique action-adventure horror experience. And while we won't be entirely convinced until we've seen the game in action, we're certainly excited about the prospect right now. Stray Blade. In the coming months, there's going to be no shortage of action RPGs vying for your attention. But Point Blank Games' Stray Blade certainly seems to be shaping up like one that'll demand it louder than many of the others. A fast and frantic combat system, what are looking to be layered progression mechanics, the promise of challenging and epic boss fights, a world that will apparently keep on changing to provide a more dynamic experience, plenty of different environments to explore. Stray Blade is certainly making some lofty promises, and if it can make good on all, or at least most of them, it'll be a game worth keeping an eye on. Ad Infinitum. The next year or so will see a number of major horror games coming out, and though developer Hekate's Ad Infinitum hasn't been in the spotlight the way the likes of, say, Dead Space have, what little we've seen of it has certainly looked promising. Set during the First World War, the first-person horror title sees you playing as a soldier haunted by nightmares from the war and crossing paths with nightmarish creatures, and it's looking like an intriguing blend of horror in an historical setting. Hopefully it'll make good on its potential, because there's certainly plenty there. Wanted Dead. You can never quite say no to a good action game, and Wanted Dead is looking like a promising title in that group. With a team that boasts former Ninja Gaiden talent, Wanted Dead has caught our eye with its showings thus far. The mix of third-person shooting and fast and intense melee combat that it's offering has looked promising thus far, and though it's certainly left a lot to be desired where visuals are concerned, we're hoping the developers will apply more polish before launch. Sons of the Forest. By their very nature, survival games tend to be more inaccessible than most genres, but if you're a fan nonetheless, you'll probably at least have heard of The Forest. End Night Games' beloved title is easily among the best and most gruelingly intense survival games you'll ever play, so obviously we're more than a little excited about the prospect of a sequel. Sons of the Forest isn't a game that's stolen a lot of the headlines or even received a great many updates from its developer since its announcement, but there's a sizable contingent of people who are keenly anticipating the day of its launch so that they can experience how it builds upon the strengths of its excellent predecessor. We can only hope that it manages to live up to expectations. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.